In this video, we're going to talk about how not to let emotions control you. So stick with me and stay tuned. Hi, I'm Robert Scheinfeld, New York Times best-selling author and creator of the Ultimate Freedom Experience. And we're here today to talk about how not to let emotions control you. And so what I want to do today is I want to go really deep into what's really going on when you are experiencing emotions, and when emotions are difficult emotions that do appear to control you. I want to take a very close and brutally honest look at what's really going on. Now, what happens with most people when it relates to emotions is that something happens in their life. They start to feel an emotion. The emotion does control them or starts to control them or is very difficult to deal with, and then a fight starts. This emotion is up. You're experiencing it. It's there. And now what? How can I make this thing go away, this emotion? Make it smaller, make it quieter, whatever it is. How can I deal with it? How can I get back into control or whatever? And it's a fight. And it's a fight that people almost never win. And if some people do from time to time, it's not consistent, it's not reliable, it's what I call an unwinnable war. And I fought that kind of a war for the vast majority of my adult life, until one day I realized, wait a minute, there's got to be some other solution here, there's got to be some other answer here, because emotions are always coming up, and I'm always having emotions that I'm struggling with, and when I try to fight them once they're up, I never seem to be able to consistently win the fight. So how about if I go in a different direction and I ask a different question and I say, what is causing these specific emotions to come up? When they do, how they do, and when I struggle with them, when I fight with them, when they seem to be controlling me and destroying my quality of life, what's really going on? But maybe instead of fighting them when they're up, maybe there's a way to stop them from coming up at all, or to stop there being a problem, it being difficult, it being suffering, struggle when they do come up. And for a moment, I'm going to ask you to take a look, and then after you're done watching this video, I'd like you to look again and continue to look and verify what I'm going to say to you here for yourself. When we use the word emotion, I'm feeling something, I'm angry, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm frustrated. Something is happening inside of us, and the question is what? What's really going on inside of me when I'm feeling an emotion, whatever you'd call it, whether it be positive or negative? And I started to look at this and I realized, well, if when you're experiencing an emotion, you close your eyes and you say, what's going on? Something mysterious is moving inside of you. That's what an emotion is if you look at the actual experience. Something is moving inside of you in a unique way. And with different emotions, the energy's moving in different ways. I call it energy that's moving. I didn't make that up. Other people use that term. So the first part of what's happening to you when you're experiencing an emotion that's a problem is that something starts to move. This energy, this emotion starts to move. This mysterious something starts to move inside of you. And that's the first part. The next part is, the second part is your mind, what I call the mind machine, looks at this energy that's moving inside of you, and it makes up a story about it. So I'm going to use my hands to illustrate this. This is my fist here is the emotional energy that's moving inside of you that you become aware of. And then this is the story that the mind machine makes up about it, my open hand like this. And when the mind machine looks at emotions, it makes up a story that has two parts to it. There's a name, anger, frustration, happy, sad, peaceful, whatever. And then there's a judgment. This feels good. This feels bad. And so there's this story that has a name and a positive or negative. And then the mind attaches it to your emotion, attaches it to this movement of energy. They fuse together. They become one. And then we think, I'm angry, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm peaceful, I'm frustrated, I'm depressed. And I began to see this very clearly after taking a journey that I'll tell you a little bit more about later. And I began to see that these are two very different things. And then one day I was having an experience and I'm so angry right now, you know? And then I closed my eyes and I looked And I said, what's going on inside of me that I'm calling anger? And I looked and I saw, yes, something was moving, but this energy that was moving, this emotion, in and of itself didn't feel good or bad. It wasn't anger. It was just something that was happening inside of me. And it was not a problem. It didn't have control over me. It wasn't bad. I wasn't suffering. This by itself was no big deal, and it was no problem. And then I looked and I realized, where's the problem? And the problem was that the mind calls it anger and bad, calls it depressed and bad, makes up a story, and that gets attached. And then we think we really are. Happy, feel good, angry, feel bad, depressed, feel bad, whatever else it is. But I realized it was two different things. And I realized that if the story wasn't there, and I was just experiencing the emotion, I was just experiencing the energy, there was no problem. It didn't control me. I wasn't suffering. There was no problem. Nothing had to be any different. Now, the interesting thing is, you have already had that experience many times and you didn't realize it. Every time that you go to the movies, every time you watch a TV show that you love, anytime you read a book and a story, you experience lots of emotions, but there's no story. The mind machine does not intrude and make up a story. And you feel many things when you're watching a movie, don't you? You feel many things when you're reading a book or you're watching a TV show. But the mind does not come in and say, here's the name and here's the judgment. We just feel. And then at the end of the movie, the end of the book, the end of the TV episode, we go, oh my God, that was a great movie. That was such a great book. And what it really means is we felt emotions, no story from the mind, and that's actually quite a pleasurable thing when that happens. And so I realized it's possible to experience emotions in a different way. It's possible for the stories that the mind makes up to be separated from, I call it the pure, raw experience of emotion, and to be able to enjoy and appreciate all the emotions that appear, no problem, no struggle, no suffering, no pain. And certainly it's not taking control of your life, because the problem, what appears to be the lack of control, is all in the story told by the mind. Now, in order for that to happen, in order for you to experience the consistent separation of the mind's story about emotions, so that you can experience this and suffering and struggle and pain end, you have to take a journey. It's a very unique journey into what I call truth with a capital T, where you can really see what I just told you for yourself. You can experience it for yourself. You can verify it for yourself, that there is something moving inside of you that we call emotion, and separate from that is a story that the mind tells you, and that the problem's always here in the story that the mind tells you. And that if the story separates and then eventually it can disappear, your experience of emotion is radically different. And so if you'd like to know more about that journey and how the stories can separate from the pure raw experience of emotion, and you can experience emotion and never have an issue again with letting emotions control you, click on the link that you'll see around this video and get the guide that I created for you to help you start that journey for yourself now.